everyone, welcome to Raw, the Fight Within podcast with myself, KUGAN CASSIUS. This week I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by, well, MMA, reality, boxing superstar Aaron Chalmers.
Jack of all trades, mate, I've got them all.
How are you, Aaron, all right?
Yeah, good, how are you?
All good, yeah. Wanted to get you on actually for a while. I'm not always up kind of this way, so while I was up this way I thought to myself, let's try and...
Listen, we've always got a good relationship, so as soon as you asked, obviously I jumped at the chance, and it's nice to get on here. I always see them, so I always think I'll get on there one day, and here we are.
No, absolutely, and privileged that you come on this, to be fair, Aaron. Right, so I was going to say we start off easy, but I've actually changed the questions in this, so it doesn't really start off easy, so
okay, that's fine.
Let's just roll straight into it. So this question is like... It is how you perceive it. It's very like a kind of an open-ended question. What's the one thing about your life, if you could change right now, that you would change? Nothing to do with anything to do with boxing. If you could change one thing in your life right now, what would it be?
If I could change one thing, it would be to have my son on the right path. Like, he's been in hospital a long time, so if I could change anything, it would be for him to be a lot better in that. But obviously, everything's on the right track. So yeah, that's the only thing. That my life's good. I'm fit, I'm healthy, and I've got 3 beautiful kids. But if I could make one change, it would be to have my son a little bit better.
Okay. I mean, this next one is again how you perceive the question as well. Because obviously your background has come from kind of that TV reality thing.
You know this, if you look back, I was the first person ever, well before the Jake Pauls, the Tommies, to cross over into combat sports. I crossed over 7 years ago. Before these, probably some of these were still in fucking high school, do you know what I mean? Well before them, so, and I'm still around here 7 years later, so, like I say, I'm the veteran in the crossover world, really. So before it's all said and done, I would like to get these younger lions in the ring.
So the question to this is, if you hadn't, so if you'd still done what you'd done kind of previously with Geordie Shore, etc., but if you hadn't got into the world of like boxing, MMA, etc., what do you think you'd be doing now, or what do you like to have thought you'd have been doing now?
That's a tricky one. I feel like I probably wouldn't be in the position, as in health-wise and stuff now. On the Geordie Shore, I was bad for drinking, bad for partying, 5-6 nights a week, do you know what I mean? I was going down the wrong path, really, really bad. I was going down the wrong path. And then boxing, my children, has put us back on the right track, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't like to say I'd probably be doing just your TV shows, like your...
You think you stayed in that world?
Well, it would either have been that. Or if the boxing and stuff wasn't around, because I've been quite fortunate, like I say, 7 years I've been in and out of the combat sport. Thankfully, the influencer boxing's took off. So I could have been in a position, if I had stayed on the TV, probably doing your Geordie shows once, twice a year. But then, where does that leave you? Do you know what I mean? The reason I stepped away is because Geordie Shore wasn't challenging. It's easy to go on TV and get drunk for 6 weeks. Getting in the ring and challenging against another man in front of people where you put yourself on a pedestal to fail, that's what was appealing to us. So I wouldn't like to say, I certainly wouldn't be as in a good position mentally and physically as I am now if I hadn't have went into the combat sports, that's for sure.
This isn't even really part of my questioning. But I'm quite curious to know, like, do you look back at that part of your life and regret any of that, doing that?
No. Do you know what it is? Before Geordie Shore, I was scaffolding on an oil rig. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite a mad story. I went from scaffolding on an oil rig to Geordie Shore, to MMA, to boxing. Do you know what I mean? And here we are headlining Newcastle. So I feel like everything I've done is led to where I am now. So I wouldn't have changed anything, because I feel like one thing, if I didn't do one certain thing at one day, I wouldn't be here now. So I feel like everything's just led us to this, and like you heard yesterday, a win over Idris goes into £1 million tournament. Someone had said that to me 2 years ago. If someone said you could possibly be fighting in £1 million tournament and you fought Floyd Mayweather, I would have told them to fuck off. But yeah, the world that we're living in now is fucking crazy. So Sunday morning I could be in £1 million tournament. Oh, fuck.
No, it's all right. Don't worry. No,
and that's exactly where I want. That's exactly where I want to be.
Because obviously this is a
sorry, I forgot you that you didn't.
But it's fine. No, listen. We're doing this pre your fight. We'll just put that out there. We're doing this kind of on the eve of Aaron's fight with Idris, but we can go on from that. But because I used to watch Geordie Shore when it was on, and I just think this fucking. And I'd never been to Newcastle as well.
Yeah.
So or anywhere up the northeast. I used to think this is wild. This program is actually wild. Like, are they making them do it? I was thinking to myself, are they making them do it? Is this exactly how these characters on this show are? It was a wild program.
It was mad for me because, so like I say, I'd never been in any of this. I'd never been in this whole reality world. I still never even people class themselves as celebrities and stuff. I've never wanted to be part of that celebrity. Like, I don't go to events where I get papped and stuff. It's not been my thing. But I take everything else that comes with it, the fame, the money. Do you know what I mean? I was in it for the money, and I made quite a lot. I probably would have made more off TV than I've made in combat sports if I had stayed on there. Yeah. I was getting paid at the time. I was getting paid really, really well. But like I say, it wasn't challenging. It wasn't challenging, and I just knew I wanted to do something. I only ever wanted one fight. I wanted to see. I'd never really had a fight in school. Never had a fight in my life. I'd never something I'd ever done. So I wanted one fight, just to see if I had the balls to walk in an arena, in a ring, in front of people and have a fight. That's all I wanted. Because I didn't know if I used to think, well, how can you call yourself a man if you've never been in a fight? So that was me reasoning. I wanted to see if I had the balls. And we're fucking still there 7 years later, so I must have.
So, as a kid, did you not get into scraps and all that?
No, I was never like that. There was 6 of us, like me mum, me dad, and then I've got like 5 brothers and sisters. So, I was just never that kind of person. I used to just love playing football, love motorbikes. I'd never really wanted, I was never a naughty kid. I was never like expelled from school, nothing like that. And yeah, so obviously as I was getting older, I'm thinking, like, how can you class yourself as a man if you've never been in a fight? So that was my reasoning. I was like, I want to have one fight to see if I've got the balls. And I remember walking in the cage and I got in there and I was thinking, fuck this, I don't want to be in that. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what was crazy about you saying that? You're saying, like, you used to think that you don't think he was a man until...
I just wanted to it was like challenging myself. Do you know what I mean? Like a challenge.
That. Yeah. But you've gone from that to having a fight with Floyd Mayweather.
I know.
Extreme example.
I know, mate.
Right.
It's mad. Like, if you look at the journey I went on, like, I remember the first fight, I remember standing there and they shut the cage door. Geordie Shore were filming and they were pissed and I could see them. I remember looking through the cage, they were all pissed. I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing in here? There was like a little Scouse kid across the ring and he looked like he was going to tear my head off. And I was thinking, fuck this, I don't want to be in here. Like, but then I won, and it was the feeling that I got was just like, the feeling that I got from that was it was the feeling that I'd never had. So then I thought I'll have another one, and then that's when I started taking it a bit more seriously. Started living a little bit healthier, and then it was always like a battle, stopping the drink for 6 weeks, and then because I hadn't drank for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, then I would binge. I would binge because I had, do you know what I mean? So that's always been the battle with me. Like, it's never been 1 or 2 pints. I would camp, binge, camp. Do you know what I mean? So that's what it's always been with me.
Talk to me about a time in your life where, again, nothing to do with sport or combat sport, but talk to me about a time in your life where you felt as though you were fighting a losing battle.
So, to be honest, towards a few years into Geordie Shore, so I'll go back to scaffolding. Obviously on the scaffold, I didn't have any worries. Like I say, I would go away for 2 weeks, come back, maybe drink once. I was really into the gym and stuff then. Drink once, go back away. In Geordie Shore, they would take your phones and stuff off you, then we would drink 6 weeks solid. And it was the first time ever I was like getting this fear, the fear feeling in the mornings. Obviously anxiety. And I'd never heard the word anxiety until I come out the toilet, like one of the toilets. I've been sitting there like in fear, and she was like, oh, you've been sitting there because you've got anxiety. And I was just like, what the fuck's anxiety? Like, I'd never crossed my mind. It'd never something I'd heard on an oil rig and like working a man's job. And the more I heard of it, and the more I started thinking about it, is that's when it was getting worse. My anxiety was getting fucking worse and worse, and then it got to a head about just before the MMA. I had to start seeing a counsellor because it was I couldn't get rid of it. Like, it was getting to the point where to go shopping, I was with my kids, my children's mother, and we went to go shopping, and I just couldn't leave the house. And she's like, "What's wrong?" And I was just fearful. So that's when I started getting help for the anxiety. But that was probably the lowest point, because as a man, like I say, as a man who wants to challenge himself to have a fight to see if he's got the balls, to then not be able to go shopping, it was fucking like, how can I go and do that? But then how can I not go shopping with fear? Do you know what I mean? So it was something I could never get my head around. So I had to start seeing a counsellor, because I had needed questions answered, because I thought, how can I get in a ring and fight? But then a few weeks later, or whatever it was, how can I not go shopping with my girlfriend at the time? Do you know what I mean? So that was the lowest point, because that was like, because obviously online you get online abuse and all this, like loads, like we were on a pedestal for abuse, do you know what I mean? Because the way we used to go on. Yeah. But I knew that was part and parcel. But that was like a low point. That was like a low point when I first had to go to counselling.
But when you realise, and I kind of get this as well, when you realise what anxiety actually is, do you then refer to points in your life and thinking that's what that was?
So much, even back to teen years. Do you know what I mean? Like when you used to think, like feel like you'd be a bit fearful. It all boils down to anxiety. So it's obviously been around. It just never been labelled until someone had said it to us. But then obviously now I know mine comes from alcohol. So obviously at the time I was drinking so much. Like I say, like not in camp I would be drinking. And then obviously for days after, it would be full of anxiety. And it took us to only the last couple of years to realise that's why I didn't drink, because of anxiety.
How bad was your drinking, if you're being honest?
It wasn't, it wasn't like bad until lockdown. Lockdown was a bad time. So I lost my fight in February, my last MMA fight in Feb. We went into lockdown in March. Obviously, it was a scary time. Then I had my first son in in April. So remember, like, people were wearing gloves. You couldn't touch. People were scared to touch anything because obviously I had a newborn baby, and they were putting on the news that children were dying with COVID and stuff. So do you remember? It was a crazy
My baby
time.
was born in COVID as well.
So it was a crazy time, scary. I couldn't avenge the last loss because I had lost in the Feb when we went at lockdown in the March. So the loss was really getting to us. Obviously, having a baby that we couldn't leave the house with, and then obviously the weather was good, so we just started drinking in the weather, and then it just got worse and worse and worse, and then that's when it really, really, really hit a low point with the drink. But I think a lot of people did, because there was literally nothing else to do.
Yeah, I think if you've got, depends on what kind of situation you're in, but you're right. If you couldn't go out in any capacity, not even to your friend's house, you couldn't go and do anything.
My mum couldn't even say that, like, because remember they made that rule, like you couldn't go around other people's houses. Because the first 6 months of the first lockdown was fucking, it was like an apocalypse, wasn't it? There was you would drive to the shop, standing on a marker on the like. Well, I look back now and it's like, how did that even happen?
Mental.
Like, it's crazy.
It's mental.
So that was for me. That's when I didn't cope very well with it, and that's when the drinking hit like the low point. But like I acknowledged that, you know what I mean? Then I had another baby in lockdown. I had 2 and 2 years, 1 year apart me.
It's mad because when you look back at that situation, so you would have been in a situation where you weren't allowed, when your first baby was born, to have stayed in hospital, because I wasn't. I was given an hour and then I had to go.
That's it, and then gone.
Yeah, and gone. And look back now, and he's thinking, for what?
It's crazy. It's fucking. It's It's scary because it's like your freedom was just taken away like that, and
you couldn't really do anything about it. Do you know what I mean?
And then the news was scaremongering constantly. Like, you can't do this. Shutting fucking. Remember they were shutting parks and stuff. Yeah. So you couldn't even take your kid, your newborn, to walk around the park. It was just that was just a mad struggle.
In the years to come, it'll be a surreal time to be able to explain. Try and explain that 2-year COVID period.
It's just disappeared. Yeah, I know. It's just disappeared.
I know. What are the everyday battles for you now? Now you're kind of on that path of kind of away from kind of alcohol, etc. What are the everyday battles for Aaron Chalmers right now?
Do you know what it is? Like, it's motivation sometimes. Like, obviously I went from such a high fighting Floyd to then a week later, same again. So a week later, I was on the drink and I was getting work done in my house, and the lads were at mine, and I had like loads of stuff under sheeting and we were messing around, and I fell, and I had a grade 2 tear in my MCL. So I went from fighting Floyd to hopefully building a bit of momentum to being in like a knee brace for like 14 weeks. Do you know what I mean? So that just took the wind out my sails. Then you see all like Tommy, Jake, KSI, all these big shows, and I always think to myself, am I gonna get there? Do you know what I mean? Like, am I gonna get, not to the level of boxing, just am I gonna get to the level of, I don't know how you would say it, like popularity so much? Because obviously years ago on Geordie Show, obviously we were right up there with the top influencer people in the country. Now that's died off. You've got your Jakes, your Tommies, these are all up there, and I'm just like sitting in the middle. Do you know what I mean? So I always think to myself, am I going to get that big fight? That's what I always think on a daily basis.
It's difficult because I get this from talking to boxers about kind of their highest moments.
Aye.
And like I said, a lot of kind of a downfall. Like you look at Tyson Fury, like his biggest downfall that we could have seen came after his biggest win at the time against Klitschko.
Aye.
And then that's when it all kind of started for him, that like the ultimate peak.
Aye.
And then really you not being able to top that peak.
Well, that's it.
So really it's all downhill almost.
That's it.
I'm talking from not being an athlete, not in
Aye.
that kind of way, but just in life in general, of hitting a peak and then just
It's like
spiraling down.
like you setting a goal. You set this goal, whatever you want to aim for, and you get there.
Yeah.
Then it's like, it's not all what it's made out to be. Like it is at the time. Then a couple of days later, it's like everything's like died down. It's like, oh, where do you go now? Do you know what I mean?
No, but you know what? With boxing as well, because I've always said this. The best thing about some fights is the fact that they haven't happened. And I'll give you an example of one. It's because say everyone craves. You ask 9 out of 10 people on the street, what fight do you want to see? They'll say AJ Fury. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, when that fight happens, there will be a little bit of that amongst that, because we've looked for that fight for 5-6 years. It happens, and then it's almost like, all right, what
Because it's built up so much, it's probably not going to be the fight we all
even
think.
if it does deliver,
Aye.
as soon as it's over, it's over.
Aye.
It's done.
Aye, that's
it's
it.
like
36
now?
minutes
What
and
are we
that's
looking for
over.
now?
Aye, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's mental, but
Aye.
that's actually how life works, isn't
Aye,
it?
it is.
The biggest, like the pull of something is the anticipation of
Yeah.
something. Do you know what I mean?
The build-up is probably
Of course,
is normally like the best part. Then as the fighting, so when you just once it's done, that's
Once
it.
it's done, it's
It's just the only way it's down.
Correct. It's mad.
Aye, it is.
Are you an emotional person? Like, do you cry?
Not like just over general stuff.
Yeah.
Like only get emotional when it's to do like really personal stuff,
Yeah.
like family and stuff, but nothing really.
Do you see crying as a sign of weakness?
No, not at all. I think everyone's different. Everyone's brought up a different way. And if having a cry makes you feel that little bit better, I know people do breath work. I know people do meditation. Everyone deals with things in different ways. But yeah, I don't see a problem with crying in any way, shape or form.
A boxer on this podcast, Paulie Malignaggi, actually, he said it, so I can name check him. He said to me that he wouldn't cry in public because he thinks that's completely different. It's he cries and he would do, but he wouldn't do it in public, or he thinks that's like a form of weakness.
Should I tell you what gets me? The only thing that gets me with crying. Sorry, I've just moved there. The only thing that gets me with crying is we all get upset. We all deal with it different ways. What I don't ever get is people cry and then the first thing they think of is to start recording themselves. That's not cry. Do you know what I mean? There's so many people online, on Instagram. The first thing they think of, if I'm upset, the last thing I think of is getting my phone out and recording. Some people will fake tears for sympathy. This is what I don't like. The world, like so many people nowadays want sympathy, like more than ever. If you're upset, be upset. You don't need fucking people, oh my God, what's wrong? Or they'll say, don't ask me what's wrong. Like, oh, it's fucking, that's why I don't like social media. And because I just think there's so many people, like when it comes to personal stuff, or like crying and stuff, a lot of people do it in a fake way to get attention. But like I say, if you cry, fucking fair play.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because without talking any kind of, I know it's 2023 and all that, you've got to be careful what you say, but just from a male perspective, that kind of perception of being emotional and being not just crime, but just in general, kind of portrays a certain amount of
people say weakness.
yeah.
Weakness. Unfortunately, I think we've moved on a lot from when, obviously, we, like me and yourself were little. Do you know what I mean? Like when we were younger, it would have been like I would never ever see my dad cry. Do you know what I mean? It's not something I would ever see him unless a family, family happened.
Yeah.
But whereas now, I feel like it's a lot more acceptable if you see someone crying. Whereas 30, 40 years ago, if you seen a man seeing another man crying in public, I don't think it would go down as quite nice as it would today.
Has, in either your kind of stints on that reality side of TV or your kind of your career in combat sport, has either of those two industries contributed to depression, do you think?
Depression?
For you?
No. I can see why in the line of work that I've had it would. The thing is, I think the good thing is with me is I worked from 16 years old. I was at college and I worked. At college I was at McDonald's, I was at Asda, I was in a factory, then I was scaffolding, then I was scaffolding offshore. So I had a work background. The problem is with the influencer stuff now in TV, they're plucking young people, boys and girls, basically 18, plucking them. They've never had a job, so they get the taste of this fucking fame, loads of money. Like, let's just say, for instance, Love Island, 18 years old, straight out of college or at uni, never had a job. They go on Love Island.
Yeah.
They go start doing all these events, making 5, 6, 7 grand a week. They've got clothing sponsors. So they're making, let's say they make 300 grand that first year. Once the next Love Island comes out, them ones are old news. So once these new ones are on, they're the hot property. The old ones are not. So then once their money starts drying up, they've had the fame, but now they're clutching to try and keep that fame. So that's when I feel that the depression comes in, because they've never worked, they've never had life experience of being actually working for money. They've just been given thousands to promote fucking clothing or makeup or whatever. I feel like that's where the depression comes in. That's my personal opinion. But because I worked, I've got no hesitation. If it all ended tomorrow, I've got 3 boys to look after. I would make a phone call, I would do me offshore survival, and I'd be back away on the oil rigs. No danger whatsoever.
You mentioned Love Island there. Now there's been...
That was just an example,
no,
yeah.
But it's a good example of what I'm going to say, because over the years there's been...
Well, there's been suicides on there.
Well, there have been.
Yeah, I didn't really want to touch on that, but
there has been.
And I feel like it's
and
partly from what I said.
These have come and clearly been triggered from kind of that life they led from as a result of that show.
It's because you go, like you say what you've just said, you go from the pinnacle, right? And it's a long way down. Once that new series comes out, it's a long, long way down. And the money you are getting, the 10, 15 grand a month, then goes to £500 a week, and then less and less. And because you're old news, people are clutching. Like, I got in this for money. I didn't get in this for fame. I don't care about fame. A lot of people, I want to be famous. And it's just like...
Famous for what?
Exactly. Fucking get in, get the money.
For what?
Get in, get the money, and get out.
But it's mad, because it's still a new concept for everyone. It's a new job description. I'm using that term very lightly in terms of like what people aspire to be. But if you look at like what you just said there with Love Island and or whatever reality show, Love Island's the best example of it, because you are literally relevant for that moment.
Yeah.
If you're clever enough to actually exceed from that. Listen, we can name people in this.
Like Tommy and Molly.
Fury
is it
and
Molly?
Mate, yeah.
They've smashed it.
Absolutely. But they're not the only ones. There's been other people over the years that have kind of used that to their advantage.
In what is there, 10 or 15 people or 20 people in that villa at that one time?
It's 2 or 3.
2 or 3 are only making the money.
So what do the rest of them do?
Exactly. They go from there, and it's the only way is down.
That concept of 5 minutes of fame.
Aye, it is.
Because if you can't really do anything from that, then you're literally in the public eye for that. What? How long does it last? Like,
I think it's like 5 weeks. But then, once if you come in halfway through, you get a little glimpse of it, and then you're back out. Do you know what I mean? It's like dangling a carrot, giving them a little bit, and then you're taking it away.
But after it fades, no one gives a fuck, do they?
Nah. But then this is where I think people think the two. This is what I think. I think and this is, people won't like, I think people think once they've been on TV, they're too good to go back to normal work. Whereas, see me, I don't care. I have mouths to feed.
Did you go back to scaffolding?
No, at the drop of a hat. Fucking no danger. No danger.
I believe
I've
that.
got 3 boys to feed.
I believe
so,
that. From you, I believe that.
So
totally.
if, just say, it all ends. Just say in 3 months, it was all gone, right? Aaron, your boxing's done. You can't fight, right? I would say, right, okay then. Obviously, I've still got contacts in the TV, but if they said, right, everything's done, I would say, right, go and do my survival, and I would go and work, because what's the point in sitting in the house dwelling on, oh, I haven't got money, when I know I can go offshore and make good money and feed me kids?
Yeah. No, I believe that from you totally. But I think it's a lot of that. Well,
there's 95% of people that wouldn't.
Yeah, of course, because they all think they're self-indulged.
They think they're celebrities.
I've been on that. I'm not doing that.
Aye, exactly.
All right, when it comes to it, what are you going to do then?
This is what I mean. They don't want to. They don't want to go back to normal life because they think they're better than people. Fuck that, me. I've gone back to scaffolding in a heartbeat. I used to like it offshore,
but
mate.
when you say it, I believe it. Do you know what I mean? I totally think that you would do that.
Aye.
If you was like out of all options, and that was your option.
The good thing is I've got that option because I've got a trade. And do you know what it is? I used to make good money on the oil rigs. 2 weeks away, 2 weeks at home.
Yeah.
So, and like when you've got 3 boys, 1, 2, and 3, they've got to be fed.
Absolutely. So I'm not asking for like a regret here, but if you could go back and like in your life and handle any situation differently, what would it have been? Like, I'm not saying like you to tell me like I regret doing that, but I'm just saying if you could go back in your life and pinpoint one moment where you could have handled a situation in your life, a pivotal moment differently, what would it have been?
Nothing really sticks out.
No?
Probably when I've been on a night out and been arrested when I was younger. Do you know what I mean? Because I used to be a cheeky little twat.
What was you getting arrested for?
I got arrested. Drunk and disorderly, aye. Fuck. And then, funny enough, right, this is a story for you. So obviously my nose is fucked now. So I think I was 21 and I was being cheeky. I don't know why. I was being cheeky, the policeman. So he's put us in cuffs, right? This will make you laugh. He's put us in cuffs, but he's put the cuffs right around the back. Like, fucking up me back, so they were, like, really tight. And I've lay on the floor and I've wriggled and I've managed to get me, because I was dead skinny, I've managed to get me fucking feet. I managed to get me feet, my hands, like, out on the front. So anyway, I'm standing up in the van and he's like, sit down now. And I sit down and I was like, obviously, fucking full of Stella. I was like, make us sit down, right? So you just sped the van up and just emergency stopped. Boom, for me fucking nose, just hit the cage. Oh mate, hence the first nose job. So I paid $5 for a nose job after that, and look at it now, so fucking wasting money. So that's the one time I got nicked in there. That never again, because it cost us $5.
Kids, listen to this.
I didn't get drunk and didn't argue with policemen. That's one thing not to do.
Who's been the biggest influence in your life?
Biggest influence as in...
Not from a sporting, not forget sports, just in general in your life.
Just my mum and dad, my family. They've always been there, do you know what I mean? Like, they've always pushed us.
You close with them?
Yeah, yeah. They'll all be there. It's good because every time I fight in Newcastle, my dad doesn't come to any fights, apart from the Newcastle ones. Like, he always makes an effort with his suit and stuff. He always makes a big effort with his suit and everything for the fight night, so I'm glad that my first main event, that he's gonna be ringside for it. So yeah, my mum and dad and my sisters, they all, like, the last few years has been a tough, obviously with my son and stuff, and they've always been there to pick us up and stuff. So yeah, I would definitely say my mum, dad and my family.
Are they on board with you doing fighting?
Yeah, you know what it is, they love it. 2 reasons. 1, because they know how much I enjoy it, and 2, because they know it keeps us on the straight and narrow. Like, that's one of the main things, because obviously, like I say, they've been there when I've been in bad ways with drinking, so they know if I've got fights in that I'm switched on. So obviously I kind of fight for the rest of my life, but they just always want us to push in. Like the last fight where I got beat, like they're just saying, Aaron, because you didn't train. Like they're quite straight, they're like, you didn't train, so obviously you're going to get
true?
beat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I was training, but not like, I was more pissing around, like going to the gym one day and not going the next, do you know what I mean?
Why?
There was just a lot on in my personal life. My son was in hospital. I'd been in hospital for months. I had been broken up. I broke up with the kid's mother. There was just a lot going on.
Yes, heavy.
Heavy, and then I was trying to concentrate on a fight, and it was just like, some days, well, as you know, some days you just, it's like, fuck, can I be asked to get out of bed? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I just didn't train. But I went in there and I still thought, oh yeah, I'll fight. But stupidly got beat by the better person on the night.
This is how you see the mental side of boxing, isn't it, though? When you see, like, everyone's got their situation, so, like, everyone's got their own problems in life, etc., etc. But when you can actually, regardless of what's going on, come through and whatever, that's when you see kind of, you know what I mean?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm glad I lost because obviously I'm 36 and I thought if I had won that, I would have just keep doing it half-assed. I would have just been like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. But it was the loss, and I remember going home and I was just like, fuck this. Like, there is a chance, and like the Tommies, the Jakes and the KSIs could be there. So for one more year, I'm going to give it everything.
Yeah.
If it plays out in the do come, I can look back and say, great career. Whereas if I do it half-assed and the kind of passes by, I'll always look back and regret. So for the next 12 months, I'm just going to give it everything. If I fight them, amazing. If I don't, I know I've had a last good year of boxing, and whatever happens, happens.
Absolutely. This next one's quite difficult, I'm not going to lie, but you can have time to think about it. We can come back to it if you want. If there was a song out there that explains your life, what would it be?
Fucking hell.
Highway to hell.
Fucking hell. Ooh, that'll be one of them.
You can come back to it. I can keep going and you can have a little
let's have a think.
Yeah? Like, it doesn't have to be, it could be the title, it could be the context of the song, whatever you want. But just a song that... Someone asked me this randomly a little while ago and I was like, you know, it's a good question to ask people on this pod because there is a song, but like when I'm sticking it on you right now, you might not get it.
Right, that is. I might have to come. I might even.
Come back.
I will come back to it.
Come back to it. Okay. How old are you now? 36.
36.
If you could go back, say 15 years, right? So a 36-year-old Aaron Chalmers giving advice to a 21-year-old Aaron Chalmers, what do you say to him? What would you say?
It would just be like to screw your head on a bit more. Like I've had quite a lot of money through my hands over the years. I mean, I've got a nice house and stuff and nice cars, but I could have been a lot better off if I had screwed me nut on a bit more. I could have been a lot better off than what I am. But I've had a fucking great from 21 to 36. I've had a great fucking 15 years. So in one part, I had the time in my life. But in other parts, like now I've got kids, you think maybe I could have done this a little bit better. But we can always look back at in regret, you know what I mean? But I look back at mine and think, fuck it, I had a great time and I'm not in a bad position, so it could be a lot worse. I would have screwed my head on a bit more, but like I say, I had a great time with it, so.
It always could be a lot worse, isn't it?
100%. Like the career could have been ended the career years ago. Do you know what I mean? I could have been back on the scaffold. I could have been doing anything. But we're still here. We've still got options, and I'm enjoying it. So it hasn't been too bad of a 15 year.
Right, last one. We're going to come back to the song once to keep thinking about that. What is it that drives that fight within you? What's the factors when you get up in the morning? What still drives Aaron Chalmers?
Do you know what it is? It's me kids now. It's all for me kids. I've got 3 young boys and I would love them to be in sports. Like the way the world's going, I know everyone's online, everyone's into computers, and I feel like we're going in a world where there's going to be, in years to come, there's going to be severe problems with obesity and kids not wanting to leave the house and computers. So I would love them to just be into sports. And when they're a little bit older, I mean, the dad's fought Floyd Mayweather. Like how... I look at pictures on my phone, I'm thinking, fucking hell, I have fought Floyd Mayweather. It doesn't seem real, but it's a story to tell the kids and tell the grandkids as I get older. So everything I do now is for my children.
You've had like 3 kids in like a very
3 years.
short space of time. I'm just curious from like a personal point of view, like how is it, like the emotions kind of between, say, the first, the second, and third, because I've only got one, so I only know that feeling. I don't know what it's like to have a second child.
I loved it. Like like obviously when I was with my ex partner, obviously we had a son who was purely, but I was like, we have 5 or 6 kids here. Like I wanted a big family because I come from one. The best thing for me was we found out my first child, we found out it was going to be a boy.
Yeah.
But then the second one we didn't. And then obviously Talia, the kid's mother, was like, oh, I feel different this time. I'm sick in the mornings. I wasn't sick the last time. So all the way through, I'm thinking, fuck, it's going to be a girl. It's going to be a girl. And I convinced myself.
Thinking you're an expert.
I was like, because she's like, oh, everything from the first pregnancy was totally different at the second one.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's a girl. And I was thinking, fuck, I'm going to have a girl. I'm going to have to have a girl. I'm going to have to go and get a gun license, buy a shotgun. Come in, it was a boy. So then next year, same again.
Did you want a girl?
No, I was never bothered, to be honest. But I would preferred boys. And then the third one, it was, we've got a surprise again. But this one, I was absolutely adamant. I was like, it's a girl. Everything, she's like, the bump's lower, this and this. And I was like, fuck, it's a girl. And there was another boy. So that was the good thing. It was the surprise. Like, because there's not many things in life can be kept as a surprise, like, for that long. Yeah. Like, the room was all cream. The clothes was all cream. Like, and it was like, oh, he, she, and it's like, it. Like, what is it? Do you know what I mean? You don't know. So that was one of the things I enjoyed with the second and third child was the surprise.
3 boys though, you've got your, different problems having a girl, I suppose, but obviously, but...
Do you know what it is? It is, like now, I just think 3 boys is ideal in it. Because you know, Christmas, 1 year, one gets a motorbike, the next year they can't do it, the next one, he gets a new one, so you know everything gets passed down, do you know what I mean? Like I had an older brother and a younger, so I was the middle one. So everything was just passed down and down, so I know how it's going to work.
Right.
The song. Fucking hell.
I mean, you don't have to. I'm not going to force you to answer.
I'm not really into music.
Thing.
If you want to, if you look
into music.
Yeah, if I put my music on in the car, everyone's like, get it off. My music taste is terrible.
What's your favourite song?
Your Song by Elton John.
I love it. Yeah.
That's my favourite song.
Yeah, love it.
I can't give you a song because I'm not very clued up.
Why do you like that song?
It's just something, like when I was younger, my mum used to always have Elton John playing. It's just one song that always stuck, and it's one song I just always revert back to. If like a bad day, a good day. So before the fight, I'll have it on, get my hand wrapped, I'll be listening to it.
There could be something in that song. That's why I thought your favourite.
Well, so that's
my favourite one is usually entwined with this
answer. It's that one. It's your song by Elton John is one I just always go back to. Like I say, before fights, if I'm feeling a bit sad, anything, it's a song that I always listen to.
Yeah. I went to watch him at Vicarage Road last year.
How good.
Unbelievable.
Is he finished his tour now?
I don't know, because I thought that was the last tour. Then I've seen other... but this was last year. This was like the Yellow Brick Road tour. But this was meant to be his like last one at Watford, because I went to Vicarage Road to watch it. And it was fucking
amazing.
It was unreal, yeah.
It's one thing I was like, I want to go before he retires. But I think he had one in Leeds. Hopefully... maybe he's get one next year.
I think that was the last one in Watford, because that's where he's obviously.
Is that right?
From,
okay.
Yeah, and that was like he did it at the football ground.
I think he might be done then. I think he might, because it was another one, like saying it was his last ever tour. Let's have to listen to it on my phone.
It was good because.
Was he good?
He was unreal, but do you know what? I got there, and there was a security guy. What's his name? Jason. His name is, who does all the security and the boxing. And I saw him as soon as I walked in there, and he said, where you sat? I said, oh, like, we're row, like, K or whatever. And he's like, come with me. I swear to God, he walks me to the front of row A.
Oh, really?
And then put 2 seats in front of row A.
Shut
for
up,
me
man.
and my partner, yeah.
Fucking hell.
He said, just sit there. I went, what? He went, just sit there. So I'm sitting there, there's no row. So I'm just sitting there, me and my partner just sitting there going, and she's looking at me going, does this always happen? I was like, absolutely not. I was like, absolutely
I would have said, yeah, I would have said, you should have said, do you know who I am?
No, because the next concert, when we sat right the fucking down, like, where's your mate?
Probably good. I would have been like...
Hey, listen, shout out Jason. He actually created a row, and the people behind us were like, what the fuck are these two sitting there in their own two little chairs? But it was unreal. And then, because he does a turnaround, so he's on like one of them spinning circles. Yeah. So he does like one half of it to this side. When they moved to the other side, this fucker went and moved the chairs to the other side.
Did he?
Yeah, and we walked round to the other side and sat there. So
I bet you almost like, look at fucking him. He must have money that could.
Yeah, that was a good night that night.
Yeah,
anyway. So, yeah. Listen, Aaron, much appreciate your
time. Thank you very
much.
much.
As always. Don't want to stress too much, but best of luck on something coming up very soon for you.
Thank you.
And, Have you got anything else you want to say?
No, mate, just thanks for having us. It's nice to get a few things. Like, obviously, it's nice to touch on the drinking and stuff, because I know a lot of people ask us online, but yeah, hopefully that cleared a few things up.
Thank you very much. Guys, thank you very much for listening or watching. Make sure you comment, like and subscribe. We are out. Thank you very much.